everybody, it's Katie from Kitty and Katy Ears here. I'm going to be doing my very first video ever, my first tutorial. A few people have asked me to create a tutorial with how I make my Disney ears, like these ones, using my Cricut Maker machine. So I thought I'd put together a tutorial for you guys that's going to go through how I make the inside of the ears using cardboard and EVA foam, how I use the Cricut machine to make the actual ear material cuts, and also how I use the Maker machine to do things like cutting EVA foam, other things like that to make various embellishments like crowns, etc. So like the ears behind me, Maleficent's horns, the Evil Queen's crown. This is 1000 GSM poster board. I get this from Officeworks and it's usually double the width. So I've already cut this one in half. So I'm going to use the Cricut to make the inner core out of these. Then on the outside, I put a layer of EVA foam. So there's just a nice blue that I'm going to use just to add a bit of softness to the outside of the actual ear itself. You're also going to need some fabric. So for today, I'm using some beautiful sequin pink and blue to really go with that make it pink, make it blue Sleeping Beauty scene. I'm going to make a crown for Aurora. And this is the EVA foam that I'm going to use, so beautiful gold glitter. You'll need a headband. So these are just ones I've gotten off Amazon. I will cover this with fabric so that it's not just the plain black as well. So once I've done these things, this is what the core of the ear generally looks like. So this is one I've made earlier. Okay, so you can see it's quite rigid, but they're actually quite lightweight. But what's really great about this is the cut is just so precise, especially compared to when before I had my Cricut and I was using like an X-Acto knife and scissors to cut cardboard from boxes. The cuts were difficult to do, but they were never very precise, and you'd often end up with quite a bumpy edge from the corrugated cardboard. So when you look at just how smooth the cut is from the Cricut, it's really fabulous. Then this is an example of the EVA foam that gets glued on top of that core. So this is just, as I said, to add a bit of softness. So I end up cutting out 4 of these because I will glue one on either side of the ear. So you end up essentially doing 4 ears and then you glue the 2 together. So 4 of these and 4 of these. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up my ear cardboard project template that's on the Cricut design space. So I have shared this so you can access this to make your own cardboard with the Cricut Maker. So I'm using the purple strong grip mat and I've also got the long one. Make sure that it's really well stuck down. Usually use a rolling pin. Okay, we're also going to use the knife blade. So I'm going to just use the template that I've already got. I've already got 2 cuts, so I'm going to just send this through. Okay, so the cut's finished now, and you can just see how easily the outside pulls off, and you've got this beautiful, perfectly cut ear cores. So now I'm going to cut the EVA foam for the outside of the ears, just to add that softness. So I've got a sheet of blue and pink EVA foam attached to the purple strong grip mat, which is going to make sure it stays nice and stuck. So I'm just going to double check that my project is ready to go. I'm going to cut the full sheets just because I will end up using the foam. Okay, so what I'm going to do is double this amount and then hit make it. Change the mat size if you do have the long one like I do. Okay, so now it's going to cut all of the ears. So I need to change the blade to the deep cut blade. So you just quickly swap it out. This one's deep cut, the black. Okay, and just load the mat. And go. Now that's finished, I'm just going to unload the mat. The 4 EVA foam ears are finished and ready to go. Okay, now I'm going to cut the fabric, first lot of fabric for the first ear. So you can see it's the blue sequins. I've attached it to the pink fabric grip mat for the Cricut. And on my screen, I've set up the ear fabric. So you'll notice that it's got the little tab that comes underneath here. That's for this section of the ear. It will eventually tuck under just to keep the stuffing in and to deal with the curve. Okay, so I'll send that through to the Cricut. Okay, with the fabric mat, you need to make sure that the star wheels are across when you're cutting fabric, and you need to have the rotary blade. So I'm just going to hit sequin fabric and load. Okay, and there you see my ears are ready to go. You see the cuts are just really precise. So I'll just peel these ones off gently. Be careful because fabrics that are, you know, delicate and soft like this one can tear if you're not careful. Now you notice that this fabric, I'm sure if I put that up there, is see-through. So that's partly as well why I'm using the blue and pink underneath. So once I put the blue EVA foam underneath, it will not be see-through. Okay, so now I'm going to cut the gold glitter adhesive backed EVA foam to make the crown for Sleeping Beauty. So I'm going to cut 2 crowns out of this 6x9 sheet. They're going to be quite close together so that I can get them as big as possible, and this is going to be so that the crown is front and back. So make sure I make sure that I put it 1 inch down and 1 inch across, that way the buffer zone doesn't take too much away from what we can cut. Make sure the deep point blade is loaded in and that the star wheels are pushed all the way to the far right. So when you're lifting up the EVA foam, just be quite careful because it can tear easily. And you also don't want to get the sticky backing of the sticker adhesive, because this is what happens. It gets stuck to the mat because it's quite sticky. Again, when you are peeling the actual crowns off, be careful to get the adhesive backing up off the mat as well as the foam. You really don't want to separate them. Again, you also don't want to bend the foam because it will get wrinkles in it and creases. So it's just about trying to get the tool really flat and lifting it up very gently and steadily. Okay, that's one. And there's one beautiful crown. Now what I just love about the Cricut is just how precise the cuts are. So if you have a look at this area here where it's cut across and in, there's no way that I would ever have been able to do this with an X-Acto knife, or definitely not with scissors. So the precision that the Cricut Maker provides means that for me the ears just look so much more professional and uniform. So the first step to assembling the ears is that we're going to glue the EVA foam to the front of one of the cardboard layers. It also gives the ears a bit extra thickness without adding too much extra weight. So that in the organisation and planning of how I was actually going to make ears using the Cricut, this was about not just the softness but also making them thicker. So just add some glue. As long as it's hot enough, you shouldn't need too much. And stick it on. Make sure to line it up nice and neatly so that the edge is nice and smooth. Just press down. Just wipe away any extra that might pop out the sides. There you go, one done. Now for gluing the fabric on and stuffing. So we'll start with the blue. Obviously, the foam side is going to go on the back of the fabric. Now I've made the template for the fabric quite generous because some fabrics don't have a lot of stretch in them. Others might stretch too much and you find that you've ended up going too far over on one side and then you run out of fabric. So I like to just be generous with the amount of fabric. You can always trim the edges if needed. Because there's so much fabric, you can be quite rushed with this and you don't need to be very precise, which is great for me because it's not really my style. While the glue's still hot, just flip it and check that that edge is nice and tidy. So far I'm happy with it. If one goes horribly wrong, the decision then is that that will be at the back. Okay. Okay, so you can see how here at the edge, because this is such a stretchy fabric, it's come right to the edge, so it's going to be a bit of a stretch to get it all the way over, but we should be able to make it work. It's just something to be careful of. Okay, so I've just got some of my hobby fill and I'm just starting to stuff the ear. One really nice thing about these types of fabrics are that you can get them quite plush and really nicely stuffed. It's up to you how much you use, really. For every ear it depends for me on the type of fabric and how buffy I want them to look. You can see that you can see the white through there, but the blue really does stand out. Just make sure it fills to the edges. Sometimes you can have sort of like air pockets, which don't really look very good. If you need to, you can use scissors to get right up to the edge. Okay, and there's my stuffed ear. I'm going to now glue the edge down. Sometimes I find it helps to let it be a little bit loose rather than pulling this bit really, really tight. Sometimes it can help to have a little bit of give there. It helps with attaching the ear to the headband. It means there's something that the ear can stick to. Okay, so this bit here will just get trimmed off. And there we go, we have one blue Mickey Disney ear. So the next step is that once you've got all four ears, you're going to glue them together. So you can see just how uniform these ears really are as a result of using the Maker machine. They will fit perfectly on the headband at the bottom here. And because they're just so tidy around the outsides, I'm not going to have any issue with bumps or anything like that, so there's no reason for me to use pom-poms to hide any mess. So these ones really are going to be very uniform. Okay, now it's time to glue the two sides together. I'm going to put the two sides together. Now I'm just going to use the adhesive. It sticks really well, though once it's stuck it has stuck for good. So you've got to be really careful to line it up. Just check that the edges aren't squished from the cutter. They may need to just be pinched back into the point from the process of being cut. That looks pretty good. Just push it down a little. Again, not too hard because you don't want to damage the foam. But there we go. The crown all ready. So for the headband, I'm going to cover this plastic headband with just some white stretchy material that I had. So I've got this headband template that I just cut roughly by taking a headband and tracing around the outside with plenty of space. So this one again has heaps of space around the edges just to be quite forgiving. So I'm just going to trace around the outside. Okay, so now I'm just going to hide the join with some trim. So I like this one here because it grips the hair and it adds an extra layer of thickness, so it actually sort of stops it from hurting as much as well. The next step is to assemble the ears onto the headband. Usually just line it up. I think about 4 finger width is a really good guide for spacing the 2 ears apart. So I hold it on for quite a while, quite firmly. It can handle it, just to make sure that the ear sticks nice and tight. we've got to make sure that the bit of crown gets trimmed out so that the angle of the headband fits. However, you've got to be careful because once you put them on your head, they will stretch. So we have to make sure that we account for this stretch and the curve. Okay, so there I've cut enough out to just fit that in well. Now I'm going to put a gold trim around here anyway, so it will hide that gap. The foam does glue on really well with just a tiny bit across the bottom. Okay, so got this little bit of cord and it's going to go in between behind the ears to add a bit of stability and hide the join. Well, here's the finished product, my Make It Pink, Make It Blue Sleeping Beauty Kitty Katy ears. I really hope you liked the tutorial. I hope that I was able to show you how you can make a pair of ears like this using your own Cricut Maker machine. I hope you can have a look and see just how precise and clear all the cuts, things like the crown and the edging around the ears, just how precise they are. Please follow me on Instagram, have a look at my Facebook page, and you can also check out my store, Kitty and Katy Ears. Thanks so much for watching, bye!